You're listening to the Money Dad Podcast, practical financial and business conversation from a dad who knows money. I'm April Adams, and please welcome my dad, the Money Dad, Robert Adams. Well, we're in a new year, so have you made any New Year's resolutions?
Yes, I have, April. And I don't want you laughing out loud because you might bust somebody's ears by doing that. But, you know, every time after Christmas, everybody wants to do what?
Lose that weight.
Yes, and I'm also one of those people, April. So every time I turn my computer on now, everything comes up with this Jell-O thing about if you can get gelatin and you can get this herb and that herb, and then they flashed old Kelly Clarkson across there and said that's how she lost all her weight. Well, obviously I was interested because you didn't have to do anything else but make up this contraction, and then you didn't have to exercise because guess what it's going to do? It's going to burn fat.
I don't think it's going to be through Jell-O.
And I'm going to lose 60 pounds just like Kelly Clarkson. But then after I got stuck listening to the lady who is the doctor who presented this to all the pharmaceuticals, and the pharmaceuticals said that they couldn't stand behind it, and she lost her job. So I got caught into that little 45-minute video. And she did show me all those things that went into this. But then at the end, guess what? But we have a product now that has been designed specifically for this and measured to the proper quantities, called Burn Slim. And I'm like, where's the Jell-O? I couldn't find the Jell-O and the Burn Slim. So, with all that being said about the diets, where are you on your financial hangover after Christmas and New Year's?
Not succumbing to Ozempic.
Well, let me ask you this.
I feel like that's what Kelly Clarkson took.
Yeah, Kelly said she didn't like to take the shot. And okay, a lot of us don't want to take the shot. But when it comes to finances, it's like at the end of the day, no pain, no gain.
Yeah, there's no shots for financial weight loss.
No, and I think that's where a lot of people are now, because I had to ride down the road the other day and hang my credit card out the window so it would cool off a little bit. But I think I got it cooled off now. But fortunately, I was able to pay all those things off at the end of the month. So from one of our podcasts, we were talking about how we could build up points if we used a credit card properly. So during Christmas, I practiced one of those things we talked about. I used my credit card, but I knew exactly what I could spend. And I was able to gain so many points. Mm-hmm. And now I'm starting to gain some points to be able to buy some presents next year. Uh-huh. Not by borrowing money, but by using money. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there are some out there that now you are suffering from overweight because you may have overspent. You put it on the credit card, and now you can't pay it off. Mm. So some of the things that I wanted to touch on is just like dieting. It's frustrating when you know you're at a certain place, and then you wake up 2 weeks later, and you say, man, why did I let this happen again? Mm-hmm. And you get really frustrated with yourself. So I want to encourage everybody that if you did that, please do not give up. You know, just drop back and punt. Know what you have to do. Go back and listen to our first couple podcasts. The one that we wore out, and I still will probably wear it out as we go along on these things, April, is change the way that you think. Don't think that you can't do it. Don't think that it's too bad that I'll never get out of debt. Don't think that you can't pay something off. I mean, you can. But it's just like dieting and trying to lose that weight. Now you got to go to the financial gym. And when you go to the financial gym, you're going to have to work hard to work off that excess weight. So you're going to have to work hard to work off this excess weight to get right back to where you were. Now, you didn't spend too much money, did you?
Not too much. I've already paid my bill.
How much you spend on me?
I can't remember.
Ain't that lame, y'all? That's just lame.
I can't
You
remember.
know,
How much? Wait. What did you get me for Christmas?
I got you a security system.
Yeah, you only know that because I just brought it up. You know Mama does all the buying. He doesn't even know what he gets us.
I do. But I do after it's paid for.
After it's paid for. If I wouldn't have given you the cheat sheet before this, you wouldn't even be able to tell me what I got from you for Christmas.
I would have sought it out. I promise I would have sought it out to make sure that I knew what you got for Christmas. So now that we know what I can't even talk now. So we know what we got for Christmas, and we know what we got everybody else for Christmas. But do we know how we're going to pay for it?
Hopefully you had that plan beforehand.
Yeah, well, that's why we talked last time about one of the things that was left out of the budget maybe was vacation time and Christmas time. Mm-hmm. And those are expenses.
And birthday presents.
Oh, yeah, birthday presents. I forgot about that.
Who do you buy birthday presents for?
Well, I'm going to be buying one for you here shortly because your birthday's coming up next week.
Yeah.
Did your mama tell you what I'm buying you?
No.
Well, you need to ask her. But anyway, so getting back to things that can happen after you go through Christmas and you did not plan for those things, but you, in your mind, said, I just have to buy that present for somebody. I just have to spend so much money. I know they're going to spend that much on me. And, you know, guys, that's what we talked about probably in episode 1 is just change the way you think, the way you look at it. Sometimes you can't afford to buy certain things, and don't be ashamed of it. You know, you can give somebody something, and if they don't appreciate it, shame on them, because what you come up with and what you gave them is what you could afford. And in relation to that, April, and changing the way you think, I thought I'd share like a little story. Everybody now, when they get married, or if they're in their maybe 30s, early 30s, mid-20s, they feel like they have to have the very best to get started, especially when it comes to houses. And now they say, well, I can't afford my house payment. I can't afford my car payment. I can't afford my student loans. But I did not hear in any of that the way they wanted to change their thinking habits to be able to get to the point where they could afford them. Speaking of student loans, one of the things, you know, that we touched on before, we mentioned that briefly, but whenever you're single and you're ready to go to college and you go out there and you borrow all that money, you're like, well, I will get me a good job, and if I get a good job making $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year, I will be able to have these student loans paid off in probably the next 3 years. But here's something that may happen right after you get out of college. There may be someone that you meet in college that you decide to marry. And now that you get married, now that person may bring their student loans into the equation. Mm-hmm. And then both of you are sitting there with these student loans, and you did not count on that because you had it planned out when you were single. So to that point where I just brought up that little small example is you really have to think through things and learn to adapt to the things you can afford, and do not be embarrassed in what position that life puts you. Your mom and I were talking last night with a friend of ours, a guy named Charles at church, and we were talking about how young people almost expect the best before they even get started in life. Here comes a funny one now. In 1983, I think it was 83, before you was born, a guy offered me a job, and to show you how dumb I was, he said, well, I'm going to pay you 24. I said, oh, okay, that's great. I'll come to work. And I got there, quit my other job, so I couldn't turn around and go back. And guess what? He paid me 24, $20,400 a year. I thought he meant 24,000. And at that time, your mom and I were living in a little apartment, and she was not working because she had to quit her job to make that move. So how much money were we living off of, both of us, back in 1983? 24. $20,400. Now, I don't know what that is equivalent to today. What, maybe 60? What y'all think? I don't know.
Let's see. We might work on it while you're telling the story.
Well, y'all go ahead while I finish telling the story. So we had to make the best out of that 24 that we could possibly make. One of the things we did not do, we did not go out to eat. But your mother is also a very logical person. I was very logical when it come to money, knowing if you don't have it, you can't spend it. So we didn't go out to eat. Also, we had to buy certain groceries that we knew that we could afford to be able to eat. And then we did have an opportunity to build a house. Your papa had an acre of land, and he says, hey, I'll help you build this house and kind of help draw it out, and I think you can afford it. And by the time I put everything together, check this out, $300 a month, even back then. And how I was able to build this little old 1,200 square foot house is I had a lot of friends back in my hometown. One of my friends worked at U.S. Lumber. Another one of my friends was in the septic tank plumbing business. Knew a retired guy in the electrical business. And your papa, me, and your mother, and a couple other people. Oh, I even laid the carpet and put the floor covering down. Mm-hmm. We built this little old 1,200 square foot house for $22,000. Yep. So my point is, we did what we could afford, not what we thought we should have, according to, I don't know whose standard that was.
Well, let me tell you weren't doing that bad.
Okay.
So, according to the AI overviews and multiple searches, you were making about what would be $65,000 to $67,000 today.
I wasn't close. I said 60, didn't I?
Yeah, so
well,
65
guess what?
To 67 would be about the range that it would be today.
And when you were born in 1984, that means that 3 of us were living on $65,000 a year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people living off of less than that now.
Yes, that's true. But a lot of married couples are doing a whole lot better than 65. But to that point, there's a lot of people with a lot less, and guess what? They can't do any better. They're living where they're living. Mm-hmm. But the ones that really get me are the ones that whine because they say, well, I can't live in a house that small. Oh, I don't like the way the carpet looks. And then they have all this debt. And the sad thing is, what we're going to talk about on our next podcast is like how to maybe start investing and being able to have things and being able to grow your money. But if you can't get out of debt and change the way that you look at things and change the way you think, you'll never be able to have some things that I'm going to explain in our next podcast. So, you look at all those things that we thought we had done great just to be able to have a house, but guess what that house didn't have?
Oh, the heater, right?
One thing we could not afford to put in the house when we built it was a HVAC unit. Mm-hmm. We had no ductwork. We had no HVAC, but we had a big buck stove out in the middle of the living room. And then we did have a air condition that we put in the window, and the way the house was designed, when the air blew out, it kind of circulated between the 2 bedrooms we have with the 1 bath, and it was able to cool the whole house in the summertime. One of the funny but not so funny stories is I worked out of town a lot. I came home one night, probably about 11:30, driving back from Atlanta. It was probably about 25 degrees outside. I opened the door, and your poor mama is sitting in front of that buck stove with a blanket around her. And I opened it up, and I said, "Rhonda, what's wrong? You don't have a fire going." She said, "I tried to light it, and I opened up the buck stove, and there was all this wood and probably a whole box of matches." I never showed her how to start a fire. So she was very cold that day.
Oh, goodness.
But that night, I showed her where something called lighter was and how to light it. She lit it, and from then on, we could walk around in our underwear. It wasn't cold anymore. But those are just some of the things the reason I'm sharing those stories, that you got to be willing to go through sometimes.
That was our first house, right?
That was the first house.
Yeah, because I burnt my tummy on the heater.
Yeah.
I remember that. That's a distinct memory.
Well, you shouldn't have got that close to it.
Well, I was 2 years old.
Well, there you go. You learned not to do that again, didn't you?
I think I actually did it twice.
But yeah, I think everybody sees what I'm trying to say is everything's about attitude. Going on this financial diet after Christmas and all these things and trying to get over, it's just like going on a regular diet. If you want to lose weight, you'll work hard at it. You'll apply yourself. You'll do the things you need to do. You may even throw a little gelatin in there to see if it helps, you know. But if it doesn't, you still got to work hard to try to get it off if you want to get it off. Another thing, trying to tie back health and tie back all that to finances is when you don't make the choices to get better or lose weight. Like, for example, if I'm overweight, which I am, but God has blessed me with good numbers, but your mom says you need to work hard to get some of that weight off. You need to make sure that you stay in good health, you know, so you can be around a while. I said, "Well, Ron, I don't plan on going anywhere. But here comes your mama. You know how she can be sometimes.
She doesn't know how to take care of you."
There you go. You already knew it. She said, "I'm not worried about you dying. Because if you die, you're going to go be with Jesus. I'm just worried about you living and not being able to take care of yourself."
She doesn't want to have to wipe your rear end, is what it is.
No, but I thought you did.
Well, see, that's why I'm saving money, so I can hire
You pay somebody to wipe my rear end.
Yep.
Okay. So, in the financial market, you don't want to have to pay anybody to wipe your rear end, and you don't want your wife taking care of you. So do something about it.
Well, yeah. Either way, in your health, with your money, but do have that financial backup plan in case you have somebody who needs their rear end wiped.
Y'all loving this one, aren't you? This is great. But I hope you see the connection. Zach, are we making a connection?
I think so.
He's not sure.
Oh, there's a connection. Because if you have to take care of somebody, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yep. And that is the thing. I mean, healthcare is not free. And so...
No, healthcare is not free, and they tell you it is. But when you get older, it's not free. But there's really nothing in life that's free. Whatever people do give to you, somebody else had to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you always need to remember. You do want to work hard at losing weight. You do want to work hard at getting things back on track for your finances.
Well, not just losing weight, being healthy, doing things the right way, too, is what I would say. Because you can lose weight in an unhealthy way.
And that is the connection I was trying to make. You made a great point. And doing things the right way financially. Mm-hmm. Just learn to have confidence in yourself. Learn to have confidence in who you are. because we talked before, money does not make who you are. Your character makes who you are. You know, you can have money and be a jerk, or you can be poor and be a jerk. But you're still a jerk if your character's bad. But you don't have to have money to be somebody. And just because you have money don't mean you are somebody. Everything should be based off character. And there were times that when I was working in the plywood plant, I might have told some people in the first couple podcasts, I said, well, they would blow the horn at me, going to the lake on Sundays and, you know, holding out a beverage and saying, woohoo, you know, look at us. And I shared some things with them while they were on the way. But anyway, they got my message. But I always thought that I was going to be left behind. But now, unfortunately, for some of those same people, I've been blessed to, as far as the world's concerned, be able to be a whole lot further ahead than they are by applying these disciplines that we talk about. And that's why we go that's why we go through the time of trying to share on this podcast. You know, we try to joke a little bit, we try to relate some things, but the main thing is to see if we can come up with some disciplines, some ideas, some thoughts, and even some methods that if you apply them to your life, that you'll be a whole lot better. I just hope that we're all successful. And here's the thing, we all can be successful. When I talk about investing in the next podcast or the basics of investing, here's something to remember. If you have $100 and go get a 20% return, or if you have $200,000 and go get a 20% return, both of you are successful because you got a very good return on what money you had to invest. So don't think because you don't have money that you didn't make any money. Because if you make that 20% return and do some things that we'll talk about in future podcasts, you will be amazed at what you will have later in life. Compound interest is your best friend, and you will hear me talk about that later. The other thing that I wanted to share is we had a couple people that I've talked to say, hey, Robert, I don't have a dad, but you know what? It's been really neat listening to you because I get to hear things I never had an opportunity to hear growing up. And one thing I would like to say is I will never be a person that may be able to replace your dad. But if you do need some help and do want to talk about things further, send in a question, or some things that we can get back with you on. We will be more than glad to help you, because the whole intention of starting this podcast was not to generate income, but to try to help people who may be struggling with their finances and to give them a common sense approach on how to make their lives better.
So yeah, go to themoneydadpodcast.com, because like we said, he may not be your dad, but he can give some fatherly advice. And so we hope that you will take advantage of that, and you can send in anything that you want to talk about. We'd be happy to do it. Thanks for listening to the Money Dad Podcast. Head on over to our website, themoneydadpodcast.com, for more resources and to send in any questions that you might have. Do your homework, and we'll see you next time.